I just got paid. Where did all the money go? If you're always wondering where your money went every single month, it's because you don't have a plan in place for when payday hits. Money is a financial resource, so you have to be very intentional about it. And if you're not, you end up spending all your earnings paying bills month to month instead of advocating for yourself. I know people that make six figures and still go broke, and it's because they don't know where their money is going each month. Shocking, right? I know. The problem is that they don't have a payday routine. They just freestyle their spending, and at the end, they don't know how it all went. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you 4 places your money needs to go every single payday and in what order. And this routine will work for you even if you're a low income earner earning minimum wage or a high income earner earning 6 figures. The first place I put my money are towards my financial goals. So for me, I put 20% of my monthly earnings towards my financial goals. Your financial goals might be growing your emergency fund. Essentially, emergency funds is a cash cushion set aside for your everyday savings account and is growing in a high yield savings account. So it's a savings account that pays good interest because your checking account doesn't pay you any interest. So you shouldn't be saving your money in your checking account. As for how much you should be saving, ideally, I would say working towards saving 3 to 6 months of your living costs. So the emergency fund should cover you for anything life throws at you, including a job layoff. So you can choose to diversify the 20% and put some of that towards buying your first home. If that's part of your financial goals, you can consider opening up a first home savings account and putting part of that 20% every month towards growing your first home savings account so you can have enough money to make a deposit on your first home. It really depends on what your goals are, like your long-term goals are. For some people, they plan to have vacation every year. So if that's your case, you can also choose to put part of that 20% towards saving for your vacation. So you have to know how much budget you're expecting out of this vacation and start saving towards it. So this 20% you put aside towards your financial goals, you want to make sure it's actually in a separate account and not your regular account like your checking account, so that you're not tempted to have access to it and to touch out of it because that's not your goal. You want to really be intentional and make sure that you open a separate account, ideally a high yield savings account, just something that you have limited access to. So after that is out of the way, the second place you want to put your money is obviously your needs, like your groceries, your transportation, your housing costs, if it's your rent or your mortgage. You probably have other bills such as utilities, car payments, any other important expense that you have to spend on every month. This is where the second part of your money should go to. So now we've used part of 20%, so we have 80% left of our income. Personally, I split mine 50% for my needs, or it could be 60% for your needs, depending. If your needs are more, then maybe you want to allocate 60% towards your needs, and that should cover all your living expenses, including your bills and other things you might need to pay in order to survive for that month. You also want to make sure you're not living above your means. For instance, like, do you really need that big fancy apartment, or do you want to consider moving to a smaller apartment that will save you a lot more on rent and will also save you a lot more on utilities and other bills that you might need to pay every single month? So that's something else to consider. And obviously you also need to go from point A to point B. You need to consider some maybe car option if that's what you need. So you have to ask yourself some serious questions, like, do you really need to buy a Mercedes, or will a neatly used Toyota or Honda also serve the same purpose of getting you from point A to point B? Basically, try to live below your means. Even though you feel like you can afford a Mercedes, sometimes living below your means will help you to achieve those financial goals you're aiming for. But if you try to live above your means, you'll find yourself only able to pay bills, like you'll be paying bills for your car. And when a car is actually not an asset, it's a liability, you also want to take that into consideration. But if your bills are eating up 100% of your monthly earnings, you might need to go back to the drawing board and ask yourself some questions, some very important financial questions. You might also want to maybe look at your expenses, evaluate them, and see how you can try to maybe try a different phone carrier. Like if your phone bill, you're spending $50 a month, you can try to negotiate your current phone bill with your current carrier. But if that's not working out for you, you can also change carrier to a more affordable phone carrier that you would only probably have to spend $20 a month and thereby saving $30 every month. That could also be an option. And then every other expense, like you can also consider, oh, do I really need this subscription? Do I need to subscribe to Netflix every single month? Are there other like alternative options that are more affordable or free, to still get that entertainment that you like? These are areas that you can just consider and maybe just try to cut out on your expenses so that you're not eating 100% of your monthly earnings. I also listed a few things to take note of or be aware of, especially when you're working towards financial independence or financial freedom. And I've listed all this in my free checklist, and I'm gonna link that in the description below. So make sure to check it and get your free copy. So now you've taken care of your needs. The third place your money needs to go is towards your wants. Now, this is great because you've allocated everything that matters most to you and your financial goals out and away from your account, and you just have to work with what you have left. If you wanted to buy yourself a nice pizza or hang out with your friends, go watch that favorite movie in a cinema with your friends or go to a nice dinner, everything left in your account is what you have to spend guilt-free because you've saved some money and you've paid your bills, right? So spending the rest in your account is gonna feel good because you're like, oh, I've taken care of what matters most to me. So in terms of percentages, ideally 20% is what I put towards my wants. So now we have everything sorted. We have our 20% towards our financial goals. We have our 50% or 60% towards our needs, and then the remaining 20% which is left in our bank account that we can spend on what we want guilt-free. So for me, instead of doing needs, wants, savings, I actually prefer to do it the reverse. Savings, needs, then wants. And for me, it's the smartest way that has worked for me and has worked for many millionaires out there that are making it successfully in life. You can also check out my ebook where I went in depth on what the 1% population do to remain successful. I'm gonna link that in the description below as well. The next place your money needs to go, which is the fourth place in this category, is paying off any debts or loans. Ideally, you should aim to pay off any debts or student loans that you have before growing an emergency fund, because you don't want a situation where you're owing the credit card company or you're just owing your loaning company and you have maybe a $10,000 emergency fund just sitting down in your accounts. You don't want that. You want to make sure before you even start growing your emergency fund, you want to make sure you clear out any outstanding debt or student loans that you have. And because you're not obviously going to be paying off your debt or your credit card payments for the rest of your life, so instead of building that emergency fund, you put that 20% every month towards clearing your debt. Now, in terms of how to pay off your credit card debt, there are two ways or two methods. The first method is a debt avalanche method. This is where you want to categorize your different credit cards and your different student loans or any loans or debts that you may have in the order of the interest rates or the amount you're owing. You want to start from the highest and pay that one off first, and then you pay off the next highest interest rate, and then you pay off the next interest rate until all your debts are cleared. You can also use the second method, which is the debt snowball method. This is where you want to pay off the credit card with the lowest balance or the lowest interest rate, and then you pay off the next lowest, and then you pay off the next lowest balance, and then the next lowest balance until you clear off all your debts. So hopefully this gave you an idea of how to be super intentional on every single payday and how to make the most of what you make, whether it's a little bit you're earning or a lot of money you're earning. If you got any insights from this video, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.